The LTAC Night Fighter Challenge is a course set up by Lodestone Training and Consulting to challenge participants in a series of tasks including physical fitness, shooting, and scenario-based training. I had only found out about the event 5 days prior, and I immediately booked a ticket upon reading the course review and its price. I immediately began planning and setting up my gear and equipment, preparing for the weekend. I knew nearly nothing going into this. The course description was extremely vague, and there was limited content on the internet. What I knew for sure was that there was going to be a 3-mile ruck. At some point there would be an escape and evasion phase, and I would need 40 rounds of ammo. Besides that, I was completely in the dark as to what to expect. The only other content I could find giving me a slight clue as to what to expect was a single YouTube video of a guy talking about his setup and what he was going to bring to that event, as well as a podcast from the same training company a year ago talking about their previous year's event. A few days before leaving, I went to the range to confirm zeros on my AGM Rattler and my LS321R. I had no issues, and everything was still zeroed exactly as the way I had set it. At this point, I knew my mission and purpose, so I set about to create my loadout pertinent to the task at hand. Due to a broken belt buckle on my Smersh and the desire to cut as much weight as possible off my fighting line, I have recently purchased a Novrich Battle Belt 4.0 in the hopes of creating a lighter battle belt. I've monkeyed with the idea of a recon belt in the past, where the primary goal was solely sustainment and not warfighting. The belt was geared towards recon and area studies, so combat and warfighting was out of the equation or heavily out of the picture. This belt setup was more geared towards a light fighter concept, where I knew I was going into urban areas where contact was likely. However, I still want to be light and agile enough to get in and out of any task or scenario I found myself in. Off onto my right side, I have a carabiner holding my gloves, along with a double stack Temu grenade pouch that carries a GPS and a Lazada compass. I have another Temu spud pouch that is there to either add magazines if I were to be expecting to go into contact and wanted to carry more, or I usually just leave it empty. In this case I was using it to carry iPro, which I never used. Followed up by a padded NVG case to carry my PVS-14. Following it up in the rear, I have 2 Outdoor Research insulated water bottle holders. I have a United States Marine Corps sustainment pouch, which I am using as an experimental collapsible dump pouch, or I should say butt pouch, and then I have an off-brand Blue Force Gear IFAC mounted at the 6 o'clock. Off to my left side, I carry an iDo Gear dump pouch and taco pouch. On a loose bungee cord, I carry my trusty Glock knife, and at the very far end, I carry another Temu spud pouch carrying 3 magazines. As far as what I was physically wearing, I was wearing my MTP British smock, I was wearing my Novrich ASU combat pants, followed up on my Gore-Tex high-cut Loas with some wool socks. I have some off-brand Amazon gaiters, I can't remember what they are, all over some frog top base layers. Keeping the helmet the same, 1d6 fill bump with an iDo Gear helmet cover, G24 Wilcox mount, and some Peltor Comtac 5s. Same setup I've been running for the last few years, nothing too crazy or special about it. The rifle setup has pretty much stayed the same. It's a stock Ruger 5.56 with a upgraded 2-stage trigger, TS19 AGM Rattler, Canted Iron Sights, LS321R Holosun, and a duct-taped Fiachi flashlight. Going back to my old AATH ARC, I pulled out the trusty direct action Ghost with the OG setup with the German mess kit and 2 Alice mag pouches on either side. We were told to pack 35 pounds of weight into the rucksack, so I loaded up a Chi-Com bandolier with 4 loaded magazines. I had my top and bottom Gore-Tex and a level 7 puffy jacket, as well as some food, change of socks, gloves, hat, and I also had a 6-pound steel weight just to get me over that threshold for what was needed. Strapped to the outside, I had my overweights and my Outdoor Research mittens. We were on the road by 3 a.m. and we arrived to the facility around 2 to 3 p.m. We were some of the first ones there. They started checking people in at 4, and we got our rucksacks weighed. We got signed in, signed some waivers, and basically just waited around until 7 o'clock for the safety brief and to be released to the event. Around 5 or 6 o'clock while we were raiding, it became extremely foggy and it turned into a light drizzle that immediately froze, covering every surface with a thin film of ice, followed immediately by snow, or more like freezing rain. At 7 o'clock, all the competitors were lined up outside of the facility and were to begin the 1.5 mile ruck march to the first station. Me and my partner quickly got to the head of the pack, probably in 3rd, 4th, or 5th, I can't quite remember, and we immediately got to this choke point where it was a door in the chain link fence, and I don't know how, but my helmet got caught on the concertina wire, and people just kept passing us, and my teammate was trying to grab the wire to try to get me out, and unfortunately, with the people walking by and continuously shaking it, we were losing time, so I just took the helmet off, I grabbed my knife, and I saw where it was stuck, and I just cut my helmet cover off and quickly got back into the race. Other than that, we passed the ruck march with a pretty average time. Looking at the after action report, we pretty much had the sum average of most competitors. Some guys zipped through it in about 31 minutes, 32 minutes, and some other guys were hitting, upper 40s, if not 50 minutes. I'm pretty sure we hit something right around 37 minutes or so. So the first station that we came across was a CQB course, and what they had you do was they gave you this airsoft gun with an IR illuminator and laser, and they sent you down this corridor where there was doors open on either side of you, and you didn't have to go into the rooms, but all you had to do was go down this corridor and try to find and engage these RGB targets. I didn't think I did too bad. It was kind of difficult to tactfully take these doorways when you're doing it solo and under nods, but it was really more of could you find and engage the targets rather than doing it the right way, or at least that was my feeling and understanding of it once I was done. So after that, there was a quick walk to get to the range, and you had 3 magazines, 2 10 rounds and 1 20 round, and at 35-ish yards, I don't know exactly how far it was, but it wasn't much, on a 16-inch steel silhouette target from a VTAC barrier in any position that you would like. You engage the target with your IR laser, 20 rounds, 10 rounds passive, and 10 rounds with your white light. I got 20 on 20 on the IR, 10 out of 10 on the passive, and my first 3 shots with the white light using the candid iron sights were misses. I think they lost 0 at some point because I never checked them before I had left, because the guy told me afterwards that they were really high. But the white light was also flooding out the really heavy snow, similar to like car headlights driving in a blizzard. So it was very hard to see, and I was like, hey, can I just switch back to my thermal? Like, it'd be so much easier. And the guy was like, hey, as long as the white light's on, do whatever you want to do. And that thermal on that cold steel just knocked out the rest of those 6 or 7 shots. So not the worst, but I definitely think that if I knew that I didn't have to use the iron sights and I could have just kept on the thermal, then I probably should have done that. I don't know why I thought, or I felt pressure to use the irons, but that's neither here nor there. It's whatever. After that, we went back and got into the next challenge, which was field stripping our rifles. The funny thing was, me and my partner had spent the whole day prior doing nothing but that, and we were completely stripping it to the bulk carrier group completely disassembled. When they got to the event, got to the stage, all they had us do was take the bolt out and the charging handle out, which is so much easier. So we were a little bit over prepared for that one, and we both passed with absolutely no issues. After that, they had us do this Kingsman game, which is basically a a memorizing game. So we went into this prison complex, and in this cell there was a bunch of objects. There was, cans of soup, stuffed animals, pictures, a scope, a bunch of stuff, and you basically try to remember as much as you could and then walk out and write it down, and we both got pretty good scores on that. After that, we were released to the escape and evasion phase. There were, I think, 3 two-man teams that had flashlights that were trying to find us, as well as a couple of vehicles. Did pretty good on the fly, making up a plan on the go and using terrain association to know where we were at and where we needed to go. And we passed that with flying colors. Basically, the tactic at first was speed over security, and we were going to bum rush it, but immediately we noticed that almost everybody was in between us and the objective, so we just took a really long and wide flank to get to the objective, and passed without really any incidents. My overall thoughts after everything's said and done is I don't regret doing it. I had a great time. However, I do think that there could have been more done, or they could have made things more difficult. I will say that I underestimated how hard it was going to be physically, and I overestimated how hard it was going to be with the challenges and such. I think the reason that the PT was harder was because we were definitely carrying more equipment than most. The weather had a huge impact on performance, mainly because of how slippery it was and having to trudge through knee-deep snow at points, and because we kept a higher rate, or a higher pace, I should say, than most people. Coming from an organizing standpoint, and as someone who has organized private events myself, I felt like more could have been done. Now, I understand, coming from their perspective, it being an open event, a pay to enter event, you're pulling from everybody. You're pulling from the high end and the low end of people who are highly motivated, people who are lackadaisical, those who are prepared, those who are ill-prepared, those who take it serious, those who are here to have a fun time. And as someone who's taking it as a very serious and a way to learn about myself and my kit better, I thought a lot more could have been done, and the stations were extremely basic and rudimentary. I could see how if you get into harder things or more complex things, how you might start turning away some of the people who are on the lower aspect of things. However, the tasks were just way too easy and way too basic. Still interesting and fun, but I think a lot more could have been done. Now, again, going back to the pooling of everybody, I understand there's liability concerns with maybe some people who just aren't prepared or really shouldn't be, maybe let's say, running and gunning under nods if they're not experienced, if they're not ready, or they really shouldn't be doing really crazy medical tasks under nods if they don't even know how the hell put on a tourniquet, let alone in the daytime, let alone at night. So I understand that. But that's just my thoughts. That's my opinions. Again, from an organizing standpoint, I felt like there could have been more clarity with some of the tasks at hand, or at least how things were going to be done. When they were doing the safety brief, I took notes. I treated it as like a op board, like I was there in front of my chain of command. The guy was telling me who, what, where, when, and why, and I wrote all this shit down. And they did a good job of telling us where to go. However, when it got to, for example, the first thing I could think of is we get to the CQB building right after the ruck march. They ask you for your number as soon as you enter the door, and I assumed that people were getting queued in to go down to do the CQB portion based on who got there first. Assuming was on my end. That was my fault. I shouldn't have assumed. I should have asked for clarity. I should have asked somebody what was going on. But basically, I wasted about 25 to 30 minutes waiting, only to find out that you actually had to get in line to get going, and that everybody else that was just standing there was also just standing there. Again, not a huge deal and not a deal breaker at all, but just small stuff like that, small imperfections, but overall still a great course for a really low price. Pretty much what I expected out of the event. Lastly, with my gear and equipment, everything worked fine. It was getting so wet and freezing so quickly that a lot of our optics were getting frozen over. The tap switches on our lasers were getting frozen over. And it was so bright outside that we really didn't even need to use our nods. A lot of times when we were outside, I just flipped the nods up and I was fine. But basically everything got pretty soaked and then froze over. And luckily, right before we stepped off, we made the decision to switch from our MTP smocks into our Gore-Tex layers, which I think really saved us. At the event, I was told that I had came in 4th place, but when I went back home and a few days later checked the website, it looks like I got bumped down to 5th place. My teammate was also told he scored in 7th, but after checking it when I got home, it looks like he got bumped up to 6th place. So again, 5th and 6th place for a blind event, and this is something I've never done anything like this ever before against 30 other competitors. I think that's pretty good. I'm not ashamed about that, and I think that's a pretty good spot to be in. Those are pretty much my concluding thoughts. Consider supporting me on Patreon. It's your help over there that really allows me to go to events like this and make it possible to spend the time creating this content. So I really do appreciate all my patrons, and consider supporting me over on Patreon.
Yeah, I'm filming.
Fucking 4th place, motherfucker! Are you in? Are you in? Are you in?
What's wrong? What's wrong, Mr. Jameson?
You serious right now?
What?
What is this?
Is it?